Hi, I'm Bob Sokolowski. I'm the superintendent of schools here in Westchester.
Stuart Christinger, Fugate Middle School, special education teacher. Was also in the United States Army from 1998 through 2004.
All right, my name's Allison and I'm a senior.
Hi, my name's Srihan and I'm also a senior.
And my name is Lieutenant Colonel Christian Watkins. My two girls go to Westtown Thornbury Elementary School. I've been in the United States Army for 17 years now.
I'm Sammy Vajoni and I am in 12th grade.
I'm Davis Patel and I'm in 12th grade.
And I'm Sarah Dutton and I'm in 12th grade.
So on the morning of September 11th, beautiful late summer, early fall day, I was in a unique spot in that I had just left active duty on August 31st. So on that day, I had 30 days to report to my National Guard unit, so I was right in between units. And I remember that morning, my wife, who was and still is a teacher, drove me. I wanted to work out, and I was in between jobs at the time. I just left active duty. I actually started my first teaching job the very next week. And she dropped me off on a running trail. I ran back to the house. I got back to the house a little after 9 o'clock, and I remember playing music, and I turned to my favorite radio station, and I remember hearing Peter Jennings. And I couldn't quite make out what was going on, but Peter Jennings on the radio in the morning was weird. Since he was a national TV broadcaster.
I was teaching a Latin 1 class to ninth grade students up in the North Penn School District, and I remember very vividly I was passing back papers to students, and the principal of my school came on to share with everyone that there had been an attack on New York City, and then a few moments later the assistant principal came to my door knowing that I have several family members that live in the North Jersey area, live in the New York area, and actually a couple brothers and sisters that were working in Manhattan that day.
On 9/11, I was actually at Widener University. I was on a 4-year ROTC scholarship at the time, and I didn't hear about it until after I'll never forget, I was in my organic chemistry class. I left, came back to my dorm room, and flipped on the television, and I was watching the news reports, and at that point, nobody really knew what was really going on. So for the rest of the day, I skipped the rest of my classes and just stayed there watching the news reports for the rest of the day. It was just such a crazy day that no one really, like I said, really knew what was going on.
I was living with my in-laws at the time since we were in between. We had literally just left active duty. We had moved back to southeastern Pennsylvania, and I ran up to my in-laws and I remember telling them, something's up, something's wrong, turn on the TV. And we turned on the TV, and within seconds, we all remember what we saw.
At that time, it was an overwhelming sense of, I think everyone had that sense of fear initially there, just the unknown, not knowing whether it was done, whether it was still going to happen, whether we're going to see attacks on 9/12. And once we kind of figured out that was the end of it, it was an overwhelming sense of I guess, anger, and followed by on 9/12, it was a sense of pride. The next day I put my uniform on and went to class, just wishing that I could have been, there was something I could do at the time.
My aunt actually worked in the first building. She was on vacation that weekend though, thank goodness, and she got the call right when it happened, that her whole entire building just crashed to the ground. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise that she went on vacation, but super traumatic. I know that it's a really big connection with her because she lost a lot of friends that day. So
my uncle was he wasn't feeling good that day, and he had a meeting in the building, and he also felt the effects of losing many of his coworkers and people he's known for a long time in one day, and just by chance he wasn't feeling good, so he skipped that meeting.
I believe my dad was originally scheduled for a meeting in Lower Manhattan. I don't think it was in the World Trade Center, but it was in one of the buildings around the World Trade Center. And he then had to take a different trip. He was in Denver, and then got stuck in Denver in the aftermath. Couldn't get on a flight home, obviously, so he was in Denver for a long time, waiting for airports and stuff to open back up.
The most chilling story that I remember, my youngest sister, who was working on Wall Street at that time, and she was evacuated just like everybody else out of Manhattan, and she boarded a ferry to take her back to New Jersey. And when they were in the midst of the Hudson River, the first tower fell, and not realizing what happened, but they could feel almost the motion on the ferry. And my sister's contemplation at that point in time, not realizing what was happening, she scanned the water, and she tried to decide, would it be easier to swim to New Jersey, or would it be better to swim back to Manhattan?
So after I graduated from Widener in 2004, I chose to go into the Armored Corps of the United States Army. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be in the front. I wanted to be someone that was leading troops. I wanted to be someone that was making a difference then. And I was just, I was ready to go wherever the Army was ready to send me to go. And in 2004, I went to my armor school, and by 2005, the Army said, we need you in Baghdad to lead a platoon of United States Army cavalrymen.
When 9/11 happened and I was in between units, I transitioned into a National Guard unit by the mid to late September. We didn't have anybody from my active duty unit or my National Guard unit. Nobody deployed anywhere for about the next year and a half. And then it wasn't until 2003 that when I was a part of the Pennsylvania National Guard, that we deployed to the former Yugoslavia, or Kosovo. And it was unique for us because we were the first National Guard unit to replace an active duty unit. And I was in the National Guard unit from this area, first of the 111th Infantry Regiment, part of the 56th Brigade, right here from Pennsylvania. I deployed as part of headquarters and headquarters company of that battalion, and deployed also with soldiers that served from Westchester, the former Bravo Company, first of the 111th. It was interesting to hear from the federal or the greater military how they were leaning on big states like Pennsylvania, like Texas, like Florida, to push their National Guard divisions forward so that the active duty forces, my former friends, could go fight on these different fronts, like Iraq, like Afghanistan.
The people of the United States were just really, they came together and were backing the military like I'd never seen in my entire life. There were people that were still in the military that were around during the Vietnam era that didn't get that kind of support. And I felt like it was necessary for me to give it my all, because everyone in the United States was counting on us, was looking to us to I wouldn't say eradicate, but to fight this terrorist organization and everything like that. It was up to us to do that. So I felt like it was just almost my duty to make sure that I did everything that I could to make sure that happened.
I don't recall, in my life that coming together of people in the days and the months shortly after 9/11, but I do know that has had an impact on, I think, our students, especially in that era, their level of service. Formerly being the principal at Henderson High School, I just often remarked about how many students were committed to becoming first responders, or were committed to becoming members of the military, and just serving a greater good in our community and in this world.
I think the biggest way we can help students understand and make a connection is, and we've known this since, like even when you think back to maybe 2011, when it was 10 years after, and we started having kids here in the middle school, and we would share conversations as adults of, these kids weren't alive, certainly the case now, but teaching them the part of history where people can come together, people can unify, and that unity will certainly help all of us as a smaller and larger community, help us all be a little bit better with each other.
In terms of just many tragedies, even today, whether it's not worldwide, there's still many tragedies where people need to come together in order to just be stronger.
We talk a lot about the unity after 9/11, but often it gets ignored, like the increase in prejudice that happened after. So I think that's always been a fear. particularly with me as an Indian American, that a lot of Middle Eastern and Indian peoples were prejudiced against after major terrorist attacks. You talk about security measures that increase after, so airport security is always a huge thing with my family, because when I travel with my Indian family, it's always, an extra stop because pulled aside, and it's just that winking or tongue in cheek, I think is the word for that, where it's like, just something that happens now. And I don't know how you combat it, I don't know, but I think that kind of stuff is always going to be, going forward, something that we have to combat because of, the actions of a small group of people.
I try to stress this to my kids as much as I possibly can when these types of anniversaries come around, that it wasn't necessarily about what you're going to read in textbook. It's about the people and how they felt and how it impacted everyone's daily life. Because even if you weren't there that day, or you weren't immediately impacted by a family member that may have been in the towers or at the Pentagon or on Flight 93, you felt some kind of ripple effect from it.
In the present moment, I am more and more reflective of 9/11, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is that, seeing what has transpired in terms of what has happened in Afghanistan in the recent months, and then also on a very personal level, my daughter will become a commissioned naval officer when she graduates from college this year. And so thinking about her military service and the world that she's entering, but I also look at it as she, as many of our students who are involved in the military will have, is a great opportunity to offer peace to this world.
What specifically do you tell your girls? What do you want them to know about your experience?
I want them to know that I want to know that I made all these choices in my life based on the past that were laid ahead of me, and that I have no regrets in the choices that I made, and that I was very proud to serve my country, to serve with the people that I served with, and that I'm still friends with to this day. To know that I didn't do it just for fun. I did it for because I had this sense of I guess duty that I felt inside, and that they should never take anything for granted in this country, and that there are many people out there that I've had friends that I've lost along the way because of it, and that their sacrifice was extremely important to the survival of this country, and for our safety moving forward.
I would just like to thank the Westchester community, in particular our first responders, our members of the military who are the retired, reserved, or still serving in active duty, to express my great appreciation for all of their efforts, protecting our community and this nation. And I think in these difficult times that we've been through, it's important for us to reflect back upon a time in our history when we came together, united, as one country, as one nation, and one community.